Have you been watching Love Island?
I have been watching Love Island. Can't believe it's the last week.
Neither can I. And in fact, Alex will be watching it now. I'll have to go and join her and really catch the end of it.
Yeah, Marie will be ringing me right at 10 o'clock when she goes to bed after she's finished. So
yeah.
All
right, Carl, very quickly then. Who do you reckon is going to win?
Who do I want to win?
Okay, I think you want Ekin-Su and Davide to win.
I do.
But you think, but I think that you think Luca. I can't believe I'm doing this on the podcast. That you think Gemma and Luca are going to win.
No, I don't think Gemma and Luca are going to win. I think Paige. I think Paige might win.
Oh, I love Paige.
Yeah.
But Ekin-Su and Davide, I want them to win, and I think Luca is going to have a big shock. I think he's going to come out of this. Yeah. I really do. I think he's going to come out of this. And Gemma's going to turn around and say to him, "It's a game, you idiot. Goodbye," and walk away. I'm convinced of it. Absolutely convinced of it. I don't think anyone in their right mind, is looking at her thinking she loves him.
But I would pay to watch Ekin-Su and Davide in a series of their own.
Yeah.
Even if they were just cooking.
Yes. Sue and Davide.
Yeah, brilliant.
Welcome to the Graphters Podcast. Let's crack on with this and see where we get to. See how we can do this as quick as we can because I'm falling apart.
Hello, Gary.
Ready? Hello, John. Oh my lord, what a state of affairs to get to a recording point. Oh.
I will try and get a picture of us doing this.
Yeah, I've got to say, well, it's very unusual that I see John in a portrait mode when we're recording these. We do communicate on Messenger because normally we're at home in front of our own computers. I normally see John in portrait mode. Sorry, in landscape mode, which is delightful. There's loads of green, normally, because he's got a big canvas behind his back that's green, which is so he can have silly backgrounds whenever he's in meetings. And but actually, the quality of the camera, which I'm currently seeing his face on, is far better than anything he's got connected to his computer. He's actually in a hotel room. He's in a hotel room. Wembley?
Near enough, yeah. I mean, Acton, Shepherd's Bush, that sort of area.
Oh, Shepherd's Bush. Okay, right, okay. So he's in London. And he's been seeing some fantastic clients today, I think. I know we can't say anything about it. And he is currently sitting on a bed, are we? Or on a chair?
No, there's a sofa in this one.
Oh, he's sitting on a sofa in a hotel room.
Yep.
In the south of England.
Yep.
Recording on one mobile phone, whilst messaging me via another mobile phone. It's amazing how technology, how when laptops let you down, and we won't tell you what version of Windows it is. It's just let him down, but it might be the most recent one. No, all good. We are here. We are all together. We're not in the all together, which is good.
Yes, we're dressed.
We're fully dressed.
We've not done one of these for 6 weeks together.
Is it really? Well, 6 weeks together. I think it's like 3 weeks since the last one. I think.
Yeah.
Roundabout.
Yeah. When you went solo.
I flew solo, but I did still have a passenger.
You certainly did, and it was a great listen. I really enjoyed it. It was good.
I enjoyed recording. Actually, it was good fun. He's a lovely guy, and I've got a lot of time for him. And I had a conversation with another old colleague today, actually, and I think I might get him on. And that will be good as well. But more about that sort of stuff later. Hello, everybody. Welcome to us being back in the room. I would like to apologise for the fact that I sound like a bronchial Barry White this evening.
Yeah, we got it getting together.
Hey, yeah. Careful, I get done for copyright.
I think I butchered the song, so it was fine.
That's fine. I think we all did. I had been very ill, and I'm still awaiting for final results in terms of PCR. I'm not sure whether it has been COVID, but whatever it is, it's totally messed around my head, my throat, and I'm at least together enough to be able to record this, which makes me very happy. I haven't got to stand up while I'm doing this, because every time I stand up, I feel as though I've left my brain somewhere round about where my bum was sitting. But we'd like to get back and talk about where we are, what things are going on, and there's a lot of things that have been happening in the industry that we really want to get our teeth into. How are you though, anyway, John?
I'm not bad. I'm feeling a lot better. Thanks.
Good.
Still ongoing with the doctors, but I can't complain. So
well, that's good. I can.
Yeah.
I'll do it for you if you like.
Yeah, you complain.
So we've got a list of things to go through, really.
We have.
And again, we want to. I'm not sure whether you're happy. I wrote a little order down for us, and I'm going to leave it to John to decide what he wants to talk about first, because I'm totally easy when it comes to this sort of thing. But I'd like to do things, and so I don't mind doing things out of order. But it's what seems most pressing or what seems more important right now. So, John, where would you like to start?
Not enough people in industry. Start for 10.
I think that's not a bad one. It was the fourth one on the list, everybody. It's a very big state of affairs at the moment. I'm talking predominantly here about the visual effects side of this industry. I don't know if it's the same with games as much because they don't really. I don't know if I've never thought about a question. Do games companies take on freelancers?
Yes. Yeah, I was one.
Do they?
I did it when I was at Sumo. I was a freelancer.
Good Lord.
Signed the NDAs and away we went.
Do you know, isn't that funny? I never really crossed my mind that there would in fact be freelancers in games companies.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
I think there are people that decide to go around and, don't commit to one particular company. I certainly found it quite flexible at the times.
That's good.
Well, that's going back, obviously, a few donkey's years.
Okay, how long is a donkey's year?
According to my nan, a long time.
Okay, that's fair enough. So that in theory, then, in that case, there must be not enough people in any of these parts of the industry, whether it's VFX or games or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite prevalent down at Develop that the majority of people from the companies that were at the games event were there for recruitment purposes.
Really?
Yeah. And it was I must say, I have to take my hats off, and I wore two different hats to Develop. It was a fantastic event. It was a fantastic experience. The weather obviously made it even more enjoyable, although not at night when it was still 30 degrees in your room. no aircon. And we got to see old faces, new faces. It was fantastic to meet people. And there weren't that many incidents of COVID, I think, coming out of it that I'm aware of, so that was a bonus as well.
That's always a bonus.
Yeah, and it was just good to be face to face again. The week after, I went up to an event with Games Republic, and again, more people, some that we didn't get to see at Develop, we saw there. So it was really enjoyable. But yeah, not enough people in the industry. So this is going to be a couple of questions, couple of lines of our narrative tonight, which I think we need to sort of tie together. So I think for the last 10 years at least, the industry's been, and I'm going to use the industry in a blanket term, VFX, animation and games being the industry. They've been working very hard to accommodate and integrate with education to support students on programme and graduates. And there are some amazing initiatives all the way from level 3 with Next Gen up to Framestore and Blue Zoo doing internships in the VFX world and animation world. Sumo Digital with their new apprenticeship at level 7 and others and so many more in between. But I think we need to start talking now about how we, bring the conversation round to talking about the educators and how can we now support education. and the educators themselves. So here we've got a group of people who have either dropped from industry to teach or have never been in industry and are teaching future generations, and they need some direction, support, training, and of that they need some continual professional development in the industry sectors.
Completely agree.
Could
not agree more.
Now, if we took it to the extreme and said, if we were teaching in healthcare, those tutors would have to have healthcare experience. They would not be allowed to teach. And not only would they need healthcare experience, they would need to be currently registered as healthcare practitioners. And yet...
Oh, right. No, I didn't realise that.
Yep, so they have to be able... So to do that, they have to do at least 2 days a week as a healthcare professional, and that's how they continue to have the license to practice. And yet we have scenarios where students come off of master's courses, even some come off of bachelor's courses, and then take a postgraduate in education or a certificate in education and begin to teach the things that they were taught, and the cycle begins again. Now, no one's fault, not pointing any fingers. This is not a blame conversation, but this is...
No, not at all.
Let's just open Pandora's box for a second. What do we need to do in education and industry to get over these hurdles? Speaking as someone that's worked in the education sector, it's very clear that as a senior leader in an organisation that's delivering education, I don't have the time to give away for my lecturers, because my lecturers are over-houred anyway. They've got too many hours on timetable, and there's not enough people teaching in industry, in the sector.
This is from 16 to 18 you're talking? 16
to 18 and going higher. So going into higher education as well. Yeah. So if you look at the number of hours, contact hours that a student would get with their lecturer in higher education, it's quite a very wide spectrum, from some excellent institutions that are offering a very, very good ratio to institutions that are unfortunately poor in the sense of having staff that are able to deliver the courses, so they have to obviously take away the hours that they would normally have as one-to-one time with the tutors. So that's the first barrier. They just physically can't be taken away from their teaching obligations. And then I suppose the second thing is then, how do you create a meaningful environment from an industry point of view where you test those staff and train those staff to be industry pipeline professionals? And I know we talk about the pipeline, and we'll get onto that. We've had a juicy conversation on that today about the linear nature of a pipeline.
Yes.
If you build into that, then the insistence of some organisations to insist on modules and units that don't necessarily make for a compelling environment pipeline to create a product, the students get a very broken experience of creating products, creating assets, creating final animations, games, VFX, whatever it is. Yeah. And you're talking maybe 2 months snapshot training on something that they're going to spend the rest of their lives doing, which it's a hard sell. So that's me.
No, you're absolutely right. I think I've been talking to a student, someone who recently graduated, and they were saying that one of the things that they found is that they were, because of the way the structure works in the university, was that they learnt some things in the first year that they really felt they should have learnt in the second and third year, because the module was there at the first year and it wasn't treated properly towards the end. Yeah. And that and also that when it came to, and we're going to mention pipeline again, as you said, when it came to talking about pipeline, it was like one thing at the beginning and then it was never mentioned again.
Yeah. It's kind of like, from my experience, research is something that a lot of academics hang on to and say...
Yes, absolutely.
And now we're not saying that that's wrong, because it's not wrong. you're constantly refining your product. You're constantly researching whether the product fits and if it can be made better. But there is something that underpins that research, which is called the pipeline. So you start at the beginning with a bit of research, and that research will then naturally progress through the pipeline alongside other specialisms that you need to understand.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Let's just get to this whole pipeline thing anyway. I mean, before we do though, I think the problem we have, and you've said it, you've literally said it without implicitly saying it, is that educators also need to be educated.
Yeah.
So that what they are teaching is current. And I don't mean software so much. I mean practices, like good practice. For example, even though Maya 2020 is 2023 out now or about to come out.
I should know this.
Yeah, I know. So should I. But the point is that you can teach someone 2022 right now. But for example, at Space where I work, we're still using Maya 2020 because we have pipeline built in.
Yep.
That requires us to use 2020. And to change up to something that they're being taught now is ridiculous, because it means that we'd have to basically stop and grind down to a halt everything that we're doing, and then go up. So even though we've looked at 2022, which I think it is, we haven't made that direct leap yet because we don't want to. It'll completely destroy our work pipeline.
Yeah, 2023 I think would be out after CGraph. It normally is.
Yeah. I know it's up and coming. I wasn't entirely sure. I know it's, and 22, I believe, is on like a point release, maybe possibly 0.2 or 0.3. I'm not entirely sure, but So this is the thing. Pipeline is it's important that that the educators are educated in how things work, of course, but sometimes it's about having the right education based on what is happening in the industry. And as I say, it's not about what software to use. Yeah, it's about practices. It's about things that people have changed. Yeah. And you can't expect educators to just know this stuff. And that's not an insult to educators, because I know that granted, in the past it was a different kettle of fish, but when you look at a lot of the courses now, you can see how skilled the people are. Yeah. And I do believe that less people who are working in education are coming straight from education and going in. I think a lot of them seem now to be going out to do something and then coming back in. But still, there is always going to be that sort of like, I've done my BA, I've done my master's, I'm scared of work. There's a few people who are, always going to be a little bit sort of like, I don't want to do work.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what I said about, managers that don't have enough staff. So therefore, if a person coming off of an MA shows an interest in teaching, they're snapped up instantly. And wow. And it's not necessarily going to be good for everyone. No. Regardless of how good a teacher that person might turn into, experience counts for so much in this industry. Yeah. And I'm not like we just said, I'm not talking about software. It's about how you cope with a situation on creating a product, going through that product life cycle. When the product fails, that's a big one that no one talks about. What do you do when the product fails? And it does fail. It does. Animations go wrong. You have to backtrack. You have to work your way back out of the rabbit hole and go down a different track. But
I was talking to somebody else today, exactly the subject. But I'm not going to mention his name, and I'm not going to mention the game. But he was talking about a game that basically it was. He actually referred to it as a hot mess. And 2 years into the production of it, they literally pulled the plug.
Yeah, I remember it when I worked at Eurocom and we worked on James Bond Nightfire, and there was an underwater sequence that didn't make it to the first release. I'm not sure whether it made it to the special edition release, but it just didn't. Yeah. It was a fantastic level. It was one of the best levels we worked on, we got to work on with the animations.
Swimming around.
Well, you were in the car. It was an underwater car.
Oh, was it the Lotus?
Yeah, imagine what it's like. So, you're flying around, it's underwater, and it just never made the cut of the game, and it's such a disappointment when you think, God, I threw so many hours into that, and, for it to not make it. But again...
this was the whole game. This wasn't just that. That's what I call about proper failure.
Yeah.
That's the whole game.
these things happen, especially in the games. They happen in production as well. Look at the number of series that have just been cut from Netflix.
Yeah, but that's a different kettle of fish. That's because everyone's gone back to work.
I still miss them, Gary.
No, I agree. I'm sorry if my voice is sounding more croaky again. So yeah, it does. I mean, yeah. So when it comes to that pipeline we're talking about, the discussion that we were having earlier on, which we'll make privy to people, is that nobody seems to understand about what a pipeline is.
Yeah.
And I include myself in this. There have been times when I have been absolutely the king of rubbishness when it comes to pipeline, and it's normally when it happened to me recently. I'm not going to deny it. And I was moving across an old project into our current pipeline, and it just goes to show how if you change a pipeline, how it can break things. Mm-hmm. So I took a project from I was given a project to put into the new pipeline. The old project in the other pipeline worked a treat. In the new pipeline, it was a matter of constantly refixing, reconnecting. It turned out there was alterations that were made on the render farm to make things work that obviously had not been an issue since, and therefore were not adjusted into the new render farm system which we had as part of our pipeline. You know, it is such an important thing to get it right, and once it's right, don't break it. And that's the thing. There are a series of routine things that you have to do in pipeline that always go in a linear fashion. If you change them, things don't work. You can't, for example, you can't animate on, you have to finish the model and then rig it. And then animate it. You can't animate it, then build it, and then rig it. It's a simple thing.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. It's just that people have to follow the pipeline, and people forget as well that there are review times in the pipeline. So basically, and I when we were talking about it earlier on, I treated it in myself. It was like I have a solid line that's like and it's like a timeline. It starts now and it ends when the job is done, and you do everything in a linear manner. That's how it works. But because of review stages, what happens is you get like a little loop in it, where it's like that little loop is where that goes into park until it's reviewed, and then it carries on to the next bit and gets parked and reviewed, and then the next one. So it's almost like a line, but with little circles along that line for particular points, and it's discussed so slightly.
Yeah.
In the teaching side of it, the educational side of it.
In most sectors, yes. In most teaching houses, yes. There are a few, I think, that do it extremely well.
Yeah,
and have their heads switched on, and it's good. It's good when you talk to those sort of people, and you feel like, wow, there is one university that has just taken on a professional rigger to join their teaching team, and you look at it and you go, oh my word, that is so specialised. and yet how much value does that add to that course?
So much.
Because the students coming out of it, they will understand rigging, really understand rigging, and therefore will be highly employable when they come out of their university course. So kudos to that university, and you will know who you are.
So we're going to talk about training, uni or direct now, but just before we go on to that, I want to just mention something that's happened last week, and it's because of this that this really became prevalent in my mind, and also because of obviously chats with you. But last week we had a 15-year-old young man called Oliver who came into the office to do his school placement. He was meant to go somewhere else. That didn't pan out for one reason or another, and his dad contacted the company, and I picked up the phone and
you said yes,
passed over his details. Well, no, it's not up to me, you see. So I passed over the details over to
HR,
the higher up, HR and higher ups and whatnot, and it was decided that he would be able to come in and sit down for a week, and we gave him proper work to do, because the last thing I wanted to do was to have this poor boy sitting down watching me do stuff either in After Effects or Maya when he's never touched Maya, but he does use Blender. He also uses Fusion via Resolve, the free one.
The kid's a genius.
And he wants to look into compositing, so because some other modelling, so I also put him on the Natron track.
Okay, yeah.
Just because it's, you can do a lot of A over B stuff. It's quite good.
Yeah.
And also you can get all the, open VFX sort of stuff
and
as well.
it is free.
And it is, of course, it is free. And he was an absolute natural when it came to modelling, even though he doesn't particularly like it. He built 3 assets during the course of the week. The first one was for a cinema commercial I'm currently working on. The second one is for a show that we've done other stuff for, but I don't think that's going to make it in, unfortunately. And the third is an asset we're going to use in something else. And at the same time as he was doing it, Darcy, who is one of our 3D modelers, obviously she's doing it in Maya and he's doing it in Blender, and he finished about half an hour before her, which is wonderful. He did, but and his quality of his modelling was really good. But Darcy nailed it in the modelling point because she's trained for years doing this. But my point is, he's 15, and he's done that, and he's now looking for what to do next because he wants to do this for a career. And if he doesn't get into this some way, then the education system has really let him down.
I mean, the good thing is if there is a next gen college near to where he lives, which we'll do a bit of research for him and see where he could end up. That would be for someone who's already got it. Then it makes sense to then put them on the pathway to being able to become an intern at, say, Frame Store 2 or 3 years from now.
Completely. And he would absolutely nail it. He'd be brilliant. He will be brilliant. I'm absolutely convinced he'll be brilliant.
Big ups to Amy Smith at Frame Store for, she takes a chance with these sort of these young students coming out of level 3 courses because of the relationship that they've got with Next Gen. And again, that goes back to that trusting relationship. And the tutors on the Next Gen courses, they get CPD.
That sounds like a drug.
Continual professional development, for clarification.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, they get CPD, man.
CPD, man. Look at the butterfly.
It's got 27 wings.
I'm just going to put something in so that Gary can use the beeper, but that'll be
What? That's awful. That's awful. It's not a swear word, but it's still awful. So
the
my
joy
thing
of doing
is
it with knowing that you've got to edit it.
I know you're a swine. Actually, you're a swine. So my thing here is obviously,
back to Oliver.
He wants to go to university. He wants to do this, but he knows he needs to get something first. He needs to get a BTEC or whatever. As you said, it's going to be like a next gen kind of thing. But if you say, there's no way this kid is not going to get into university. But if you wanted to learn how to do this and you didn't, or for some reason you couldn't financially support a long period of time in university, but you still want to do this as a career,
CGMA.
Okay, exactly.
Hit up a website where you're going to get tuition on a specific pipeline project, part of a pipeline that you want to go into. I mean, I was big ups to Dan Woodward from N-Dreams for putting me onto CGMA. They're using it at N-Dreams to upskill their staff, which seems really good. Good idea.
That's brilliant, actually.
And again, this is part of what Matt Wilson's doing now that he's left education and he's now working at Cloud Imperium Games, CIG.
Yeah.
And these guys are learning and development managers. And in Matt's case, he's a global learning and development manager. Yes, Matt, I did drop that in. Yes, Matt, I will keep dropping it in, you global, beautiful person. That has to stay in.
It'll stay in.
But there is a new breed. This is what I'm saying, Gary. There is a new breed of people inside games companies, inside VFX and animation companies, who are upskilling staff to create the vacuum at the bottom to take interns in. Perfect. That is exactly what was needed. But we do need to go back to the educators and upskill them as well. So there we go. But yeah, CGMA website of the week for me. Not sure of the prices because you have to click a button and sign up, and don't think my credit card's ready for that sort of thing. But
no. Well, this is the thing.
It does look like there are some big options. I think this looks like it is a natural progression of old lynda.com, digital tutors that then became, so on.
Yeah, Pluralsight. I mean, this is the thing. Yeah, and also people buying out Pluralsight. Don't LinkedIn own Pluralsight now?
Oh, maybe. And there's LinkedIn Learning, isn't it? LinkedIn Learning.
There is. Yeah. I think that was Pluralsight. Anyway. But digital tutors used to be free. All I'm going to say is digital tutors used to be free. Keep that in mind. One day someone was going to do more free stuff, like on YouTube. Quiet, Gary, walk away from it. No. So,
John's
what I wanted to mention, what I wanted to mention is Lightforge Academy. Have you heard of Lightforge Academy?
Lightforge Academy in Doncaster, yes. It's Alistair McLean-Clark, absolutely fantastic. Yep. I was there at the very beginning when that name was discussed. Right.
Well, a colleague who I would like to hope he still considers me a friend. I don't think I've set this one. His name is Richard van der Steenhoven, or Steenhoven. I can never quite pronounce his surname. But last month, I'm just going to read. This is actually out of LinkedIn. I'm going to read this to you. Great end to the week at Lightforge Academy in Doncaster as we welcomed our latest batch of trainees taking part in 2 weeks of nuke, paint and roto training. And then he's got awkwardly angled selfie and nobody's in focus except myself, of course. Looking forward to getting stuck into some more paint work in the coming weeks.
Well,
that to me.
So that was a conversation around the boardroom table at Doncaster College when we were looking at a partnership between Doncaster College and what was 360 Degree Media, then became Lightforge. Lightforge was used as the sort of it was a very good marketing thing, and I have to give my props to the marketing team at Lightforge. But the idea was, how do we recreate what we lost when we lost Escape Studios version 1?
Yeah.
And they did talk quite extensively with people like Lee and so on from Escape Technology, who were some of the founders of those sort of courses. And the courses were designed to fill gaps in graduates' knowledge pools and polish them to be able to do a specific job to industry standard to get a job.
But does that mean then that those people have done a degree and then they go to Lightforge?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. It's open to anyone who has an aptitude to do it, but obviously a target audience is most likely to be graduates who maybe haven't found their portfolio to be rich enough to get them the job. But again, I'm so glad that coming out of pandemic, Lightforge Academy has found its feet, and that Alistair is finishing what he started with it, because it was a real journey for that gentleman, and I can only take my hat off to him for the perseverance that he's put into it, and not just perseverance, his own reputation, his own finance, everything. So
Alistair,
well done, Alistair McLean-Clark.
Alistair McLean-Clark, yeah.
Yeah, we might even get him on the podcast now.
Well, it would be nice. I'll be honest with you. I think I know most of my contacts aren't in education, but I would, but I don't want anyone to think they just have to know us in order to come on the show. So if anyone who's listening to this wants to have an opinion and get involved, please get in contact with us. We have an email address. We've got a website. You can contact us directly. It's not a problem. All the links and stuff is available actually on the podcast. Yep. So you should be able to just find it in the info.
On Spotify or Anchor FM.
Yeah. Oh, and also we've just updated the logo. Well, actually, the truth be known, I've just updated the logo.
What a beautiful thing it is.
I'm not gonna edit out all this coughing, just so you know. So please put up with that. My hand is over my mouth. I'll just diminish it or something. I don't
know. Just because, and let's just see. We've got a couple of. I'm just going to look at the time. I think probably talking about the Blender beta is probably not worth it now. I think Blender's going through quite a rapid change in its technology. One thing that I did get coming out of Develop and a few other conferences that I've been to recently is that more people are starting to play with geometry nodes.
Oh, just a bit.
They're really, really excited about geometry nodes and how that's now making people think about the way that they start the process of creating assets and making assets tools, which I think is fantastic.
Absolutely. I guess I can't be too specific, but there's a project we're working on at the minute. And one thing that's happening in there, we were actually discussing, it was being discussed kind of openly in the office about, how to do X, Y, and Z, which is one of the lovely things I like about a small office, because there's like a small number of, there's less than less than 15 people altogether. So there's probably in the office at any one given time, there's normally, say, about 6, 7 people. And everyone else is, working away remotely. And, if someone was throwing around, well, how will we do this thing? And it was like, well, there's this way, there's that way, there's this piece of software. And then someone blatantly just said, oh, and also as a backup plan, I think we can do it with geometry nodes in Blender. And no one batted an eyelid, and everyone probably just thought, oh, God. It wasn't me who said it, but probably everyone was just, it was somebody else. And I bet everyone else was thinking, like, oh, God, Gary's going to be dead chuffed with this one.
Yeah, I mean,
someone's recommended Blender again, but that's the problem. People are recommending Blender for it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, there's a ton of cool stuff. I mean, I was talking today. We were visiting Lenovo today. There was an interesting visit down at Lenovo.
Are you allowed to mention that?
Well, everyone knows who a Lenovo is. We were looking.
No, I know, but you're allowed to mention that you were down there for work.
Yes. I mean, we were
just checking.
We do training. We do product cycle training, product lines, making sure that we've got the right knowledge. One of the things that was very interesting today was listening to how PCIOP, which is obviously HP Anywhere and other things, like obviously that's a competitor of Lenovo. I do apologise for making all the Lenovo people wince on that one, but we had some extremely good training on how NVIDIA are speeding up PCIOP with their drivers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Anything that improves that protocol?
Yep. So basically, it all comes down to using NVIDIA's chipset to compress and then to uncompress at both ends.
Oh, the joys of the GPU, eh?
It's never ending. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
No, it really is. Talking about gifts that keep on giving, I bought myself some gifts. I'm going to quickly tell you this. I tried to tell you before, but I'm going to keep this in as well. This is nothing to do with sponsorship. I just want that completely clear. Even though if anyone wants to send me a Lenovo computer, please feel free.
Gary would like a P620 Threadripper with 64 cores and an A6000 card to run Blender on.
No, I won't. No, I was trying to explain to John that when you clean the inside of your car and suddenly it feels like you're driving a brand new car. I just wanted. I've been wanting a new keyboard, and I've been wanting a new mouse. The mouse I've been using for a while has been a wireless one, and in all honesty, I don't really like wireless mice.
No, I hate them.
I like the traction. I don't know what it is. There's like a tiny bit of weight from the cable, which seems to control the front of the mouse better. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's something about that wire on the mouse that it makes it feel better, and. The keyboard, about 4 of the letters have now vanished off my old keyboard, and it was a Logitech one. And it was very good, and it wasn't too noisy, because my biggest thing is, and I know a lot of people like the big clickety clackety stuff. I don't like that. I like a nice quiet keyboard, and so I bought myself a SteelSeries Rival 3, which I've got to say is probably the best mouse I've ever had, and that is without a word of a lie. The LEDs are beautiful, that goes without saying, but the actual quality of the buttons themselves, the feel of it in my hand, and the active proper control on the buttons, and the programmability of them, even though I haven't, because I'm left-handed and I use a standard mouse. I don't like molded mice with loads of buttons on the sides. So there's a couple of buttons on the left-hand side, which of course I don't reach across and use because the fingers are in the wrong place. They're very small, they're very slightly just on the edge, but the actual mouse itself is an utter joy, and so is the keyboard. Now the keyboard I bought was a Cherry KC 6000 Slim with like 4 little rubberized feet that you stick on so you get that nice little bit of an angle. But the sound of this thing, it's practically silent. And I cannot, I've been typing whilst we have been recording, and I'm going to listen back to see if I can actually hear it, because I don't think I'll be able to hear it on the recording. It's a beautiful, 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 beautiful keyboard. Hi, this is Gary in the future editing this podcast right now, and yes, I could not hear a single click on the keyboard apart from me heavily hitting the enter button, but that was my finger rather than it was the actual keys themselves. No, it's a fantastic keyboard, it really is. If ever anybody wants to go and buy a keyboard, I completely and utterly recommend this Cherries. And also, the major reason why I bought this Cherry and the Steel series is because we have them at work. But the ones I bought, the one I've got is a cheaper one, but by gum, it's wonderful. I definitely recommend this stuff. The Cherry keyboards and the Steel series. I've said it 3 times now. I'll stop.
Yeah. Well, while we're doing shout-outs, I want to give a shout-out to Pride House for the LGBTQ plus Commonwealth gaming events that will be going to be going on while the Commonwealth Games are on. Mm-hmm. We've managed to sponsor them with supplying them with some demonstration kit so they can run it. But there'll be a lot of esports events going on through the Commonwealth. British esports, they're tied up in the next couple of weeks doing the qualifiers. In fact, they've done the qualifiers now.
And this has come from Escape, the old
No. Only the Pride House one has.
Okay.
We wouldn't have been able to afford, I don't think, to fully sponsor the Commonwealth Games esports event. It seems like it's a fairly big affair. But what is interesting, Gary, is again, esports is driving forward. It is a thing that is growing and growing. I attended since our last podcast, I attended the Education Summit for British esports, which was at Confetti Studios in Nottingham. Absolutely amazing facilities that they've got there. And it was interesting because I went there like the proverbial dad going, what's esports then? And what does it do? And even I know what esports is.
Well,
you think you do, but do you know what esports as a course is? And as a career pathway is?
Not as much.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was Well, yeah, I was even less.
It's when you see these. I'm going to say this. Please forgive me, everybody, especially of a certain age. These kids, not just kids. I know there's older people as well. But the speed at which some of these guys, particularly if they do things like League of Legends, and you look at them like, oh my days, how are they doing that?
Right. So what I'm going to say to you is, imagine the football Premiership and the amount of professional players that are in the football Premiership, and then for them to do their job, how many people are employed by clubs and the football Premiership, including the broadcasters that broadcast the events as well. That's an analogy of esports. So
I suppose it is, yeah, because it's all sponsorship, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and branding and event management, broadcasting, live streaming, shoutcasting, commentating, even down to player nutrition, which is a thing that they've built in from the ground up. So player nutrition, player health and mental health and nutrition all play a massive part. And this has been an amazing thing. If you look at some of the profiles of some of the players that are playing at colleges up and down the country, and they gave us some stats. So in 2020, the number of students graduating from the Pearson qualification, I think, was 120.
Yeah. In
2021, 2022, as in this year's, it was 2,000.
What, for esports?
Yeah, and they predict enrolments for 2023, 2024 will be 6,000.
That's insane, isn't it?
That is a chunk of tin.
That's an awful lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money, but it's an awful lot of courses that are being put on. And I'm going to give a shout out to Callum Neal, Barnsley College, who should by now it should be well known that he's moving across to be head of education at British esports. But absolute kudos to Callum. And I had the pleasure of him taking me around Barnsley College's campus, showing me what they were doing. He explained how it all worked and how it's all developed and how it's grown out of sort of like an idea that's come from the States. And it is unbelievable the way that they professionalise people at level 3 with industry skills. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And I would say this, and I'm getting a bit animated, getting a bit loud. I'll probably have neighbours.
That's okay.
I would say this, that there is definitely something that can be learnt by the education sector for creative industries. Follow what the method is on British esports. It's very, very clever.
What? That's true, actually, yeah, because if they're actually coming out and they are prepared,
Yep. Job done.
That's job done. I mean, that
Job
is
done.
job done.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah. So it's been an epic 6 weeks, really. Oh, just while I'm on the kudos sort of props,
yeah.
I think this Friday the new cohort of Epic Fellowships begin. I think it's kind of like a season now. It's like a Netflix series. I think it's season 7 or something like that. Well, it's Epic, isn't it? So it's like fortnight.
Yes, yeah. Well, every fortnight? Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm joking.
So I think it's worth just mentioning a good friend of mine, Julie Lottrin, who seems to have just, I think, nailed an amazing way of educating educators to learn a specific bit of software. But in doing that, they also learn a lot more than just that piece of software. So big props to Julie and the team, Jamie Butcher over in the UK. You know, it's all good stuff. So yeah,
it's really
credit
nice
where
though,
credit's
to know
due.
there's that. Yeah, there's that level of care and that level of diligence, I suppose. Isn't it, really?
It is care, it is diligence, but it's also doing it right and doing it well.
Of course.
So we don't have a guest tonight to talk about our final, which is now our logo, our signature logo.
I'm quite pleased with that, actually.
Yeah, which is obviously custard cream or bourbon biscuit.
I still think, personally, that you can tell, actually, when you look at the logo. If you have a look at the logo, the new one, you can definitely tell that I prefer the custard cream because it actually has a piece bitten out of it. Whereas the bourbon, obviously, is like cardboard, and therefore there's no piece been taken out of it.
Whereas if you look at when when I finally get round to blender modelling the logo for myself, mine will have been dunked.
There'll be tea dripping off of it. Do you know what? I should go in there because basically what I did was I did the modelling. I bottled it all.
You should put a wet map. Yeah, you should put a wet map on it.
I modelled it all in Blender, and I basically built the basic shapes, remeshed, sculpted, remeshed, textured in there. So all the texture's been painted in there. But the final thing, I put it together in Critter. So I rendered out the background image and rendered out the foreground bits and stuff and everything, and then did the text in Critter, which is getting a lot better for its text, it has to be said, but it needed to.
Yeah.
And I'm quite pleased that it's not bad for a day's work. I think.
I was going to say, because we didn't get a chance to get somebody to come in and tell us and talk to us and stuff today.
Yeah.
I bumped into Tom Box at one of the events, and I mentioned the podcast, and I asked him the question.
Oh.
And he came down on the side of custard creams. Thanks, Tom.
Yes. Please come and
Gary.
visit us. Please come and visit us on the podcast. We would love that.
We would love that. We'd love to talk about. We'd certainly love to talk about all the wonderful things that you've been up to and the amazing stuff you do with education. So if you get a chance.
Absolutely.
We will find a way of making our diaries fit around yours.
But in John's defence, John did also say, we're not quite ready for you yet. I'm not so sure about that. I think we may have to do a bit more research. It wouldn't have been right for tonight.
Yeah.
But no, I think it would be lovely to have. And I will reiterate, because I know there are more people starting to listen to this podcast
alumni.
now.
Yeah, another Bournemouth alumni, I think you'll find, Gary.
I think it was after me, though, I think.
Maybe, yeah. You'll have to compare.
No, he definitely was. He's younger than me. He's younger than me. But yes, but if there is anybody out there who's listening now, because we do know the figures are going up for people listening, which is lovely, and they would like to have a little bit of their own say, or they want to know a bit more about our industry, or even if they just want to ask us a few questions, not necessarily regarding biscuits, but about the stuff that we know, the knowledge that we know, and what we can hopefully give to them. Just a question, if there's anything that you want to know, why this, why that, why have you done this, you stupid man, anything like that, that's the sort of stuff that we really, really want to start hearing from other people, how they feel about the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
What they feel that we should be doing. My own personal opinion is that we need another non-actually academic system of teaching people to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of university.
Maybe.
The more I not maybe, I think it's definite.
I think we need. I think it'd be good to get a student on as well, possibly. So we'll see about getting a student on that's maybe in their third year at uni.
That would be great, actually.
Anybody out there that's listening wants to have a chat,
get in contact.
Yeah, please reach out. And also, I'd like to talk to anybody who is I can't get my words right in my head.
No, that's fine.
I think we want to talk to women in animation, women in games, and we want to talk to people from all other backgrounds, whatever backgrounds they're from, that are not the mainstream middle class white. Let's put it out there.
You mean
like
basically
us? Like
me
us.
and John? No, absolutely. I've been very fortunate. I think I've worked in a few places where there's been some very, very talented people that I've met over the years. Incredibly talented people. When it comes to women in the industry, one of the biggest things that I have noticed is that in terms of animation,
they're really good.
Women are really good, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
and that's
really
fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
And yet, when you
Anyway.
look into education, you maybe don't see as many in the animation classes that you should.
You mean actually studying? You mean? Or?
Yeah, studying. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in a lot of cases, the animation doesn't start until a little bit later. They probably go and do fine art more than anything I would have thought, and then it becomes just a natural spur that comes from that. That's what I think happens with a lot of people. But there are, again, you're right. But there are still people who are just beautifully talented people who are just stagger us all completely.
And
right.
we are here for everybody in education.
Amnesty, openness, and completeness when it comes to this sort of stuff. It's about people who are talented. It's nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah.
If you are talented, you will get the job.
And it's about working hard, learning hard.
Oh, completely.
And practice. Yeah.
Yeah, talent only comes with practice.
Anyway, so it's good night from me, Gary.
And it's a very, 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 very long, tired, please let me send me to bed good night from me as well.
Good night.
I will speak to you anon, young man.
Speak to you anon, and take care.
Take care. And bye.
Bye.
This work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. Any opinions stated during the course of this podcast belong purely to myself and to John and are based at the time that we record this. The theme music is My Everything by DJ Quads. If you like that, and I'm sure you probably did, there is a lot more of his great stuff which you can find at soundcloud.com/DJ Quads, or his music is also promoted by www.free-stock-music.com.